What happened to Jeffrey Jones by JoBlo Originals? I have no idea who this is. Again, I do not know. I do not know who that is. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at him. The movie thing comes here. That's funny. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate it. Let's see. I don't know who that is. I'm probably, once again, being an absolute moron, and I probably have seen the actor somewhere before. I just don't know who it is by name.
Lydia Dietz, her stepmother Delilah, and her daughter Astrid stand over a casket. The burial service is in progress. We can barely make out who the funeral is for, but there he is on the headstone, Charles Dietz. While this character of Charles was once part of the Beetlejuice sequel, when this ghost with the most was to go Hawaiian, but he was entirely written out of
Interesting. So who is that?
Beetlejuice, for reasons that will soon be obvious. Because he's a fucking pedophile. Despite this franchise
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I was like, I've seen this guy from somewhere before. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
being all about dancing with death, actor Jeffrey Jones will not be in Beetlejuice, in his physical human form. And it's safe to say that this controversial thespian won't be in any other legitimate movie until the day he really dies. This man had an absolute disgraceful tumble from his small but reliable spotlight, perfectly fitting into...
Interesting. I've never watched any of these movies, right? I've never watched the Beetlejuice one. Never have, never will. Interesting. Okay. Again, I do not know who this is, but I know he likes children, so, that's a problem.
prestigious period pieces and goofball funny flicks. Jones was a Golden Globe nominee with consistent work and a very
I knew it from somewhere. He's some Stuart Little. Like the fucking mouse? That's why I knew his face. Okay. Again, I know these actors, I just don't know them by name.
impressive resume, a mix of a villain, comedic, and at times patriarchal roles. But Jeffrey Jones went from Ferris Bueller's baddie to Who's Your Caddy to a motherfucking pedophile. So yeah, let's find out what the happened.
To Who's Your Daddy? I'm sorry. I need to watch movies with Cokers with this actor since he's a pred. That's crazy.
To Jeffrey Jones. But to truly understand what the happened to Jeffrey Jones, we must begin at the beginning, and the beginning began when he was born on his birthday, 1946, New York. Jeffrey Jones took to small theater, traveling the world and stepping into
Bro was shortly born after World War II. Bro missed everything.
roles in prominent works. After conquering the stage, Jones would move on to television, mostly in one-offs, miniseries, and TV movies.
Eventually started also trying to conquer the kindergarten or primary school. Or whatever.
His first notable credit would be in the Cold War actioneer The Soldier in 1982, next playing a sleazeball opposite Rodney Dangerfield in Easy Money in 1983. But his true breakout came with the widely acclaimed Best Picture winner Amadeus, playing Emperor Joseph II. For his performance, he would earn his only Golden Globe nomination, Best Supporting Actor, but would later miss out on the Oscar nomination. Many people say he should have been nominated, but who cares now, right? This Amadeus acclaim would lead to Jeffrey Jones landing his signature role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off in 1986. The ultimate authoritarian, ego-tripping prick, at least to the teenage mindset. In this movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Jeffrey Jones' character is on the hunt for this young teenage boy. And because
Oh no, I know this dude. He plays the main male lead in Godzilla 1998. It's funny, sad because the guy's funny in the few movies I've seen. Well, I don't know, interesting.
Because of Mr. Jones, a lot of these scenes are really creepy now. But let's try not to think about that so this fucker doesn't ruin this movie.
I got you, Ferris.
But scandal and disgustingness aside, you have to admit that he played this character perfectly. He has this wonderful, sleazy weasel quality, and you have to admit that this movie is kind of amazing, and part of it is because of this horrible man's wonderful performance.
Horrible man's wonderful performance. But then again, at this point, like, you gotta separate the actor from the movie at this point, because, like, otherwise... See, the problem is that, like, you could do that with a lot of things, right? You could do that with things you use on a daily basis, that probably somebody who's really horrible has done this. And, has done something terrible. You just gotta move on. There's no other way, otherwise you cannot enjoy living you cannot enjoy living.
But I guess seeing him get attacked by a dog and, step in a puddle and stuff, it's kind of even funnier now because, he deserves it. Next, he would land...
Accurate reaction, valid crash out, very valid. The kid actor also voiced adult Simba in... in the original Lion King. Okay, not bad.
And a role on Howard the Duck, which everybody says is horrible, and
now I know where I know this guy from. It's from Howard the fucking Duck. That's why. Interesting. Very interesting. That's where I know this guy from. Especially now. Howard the fucking Duck. I still have that movie, by the way, on VHS.
It kind of is, but it also has this magical charm to it. But yeah, who cares? And yeah, we have to admit, once again, Jones plays the character to great effect, giving an over-the-top and unhinged performance. That's truly brilliant. A genius, I'd say. No, I'm not gonna go that far. You could also see this man pop up in Transylvania 6500, in which he plays the mayor.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Jeffrey Jones had made the mark he needed to be recognized by filmmaker Tim Burton. Mr. Burton knew that Mr. Jones should play Mr. Dietz in Beetlejuice. In this fabulous, out-of-control, brilliant movie, Mr. Jones gets to show his comedic timing that let him play the foil to the hauntings, and Deo! Tim Burton would go on to cast Jeffrey Jones in two...
Interesting. Crocodile Valentine, I did not. That doesn't matter to me. I did not. I'm sad. Anyways, moving on.
More movies in the 90s. Two of Tim Burton's best movies, actually. There was Ed Wood in 1994, in which he played a real-life psychic personality. And of course, he was casted to perfection as the town reverend in Sleepy Hollow. He had become part of Tim Burton's...
And I know it from here as well, because I watched Sleepy Hollow. Fuck, this guy's actually in the... You may have ruined a lot of movies. Well, I could just ignore him. But still, why am I watching these?
Burton's growing fleet of frequent collaborators. Like Michael Keaton, Johnny Depp, and another friend and occasional face was that of Paul Rubens. But more important than Pee-wee or Batman Returns was his tie to Jeffrey Jones's undoing. We'll get to that in just a bit.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder.
I was already expecting he'd say Jeffrey Epstein anyways. Just saying.
Reminder to click the store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Jones ended the 1980s with a movie called Without a Clue, and a movie called Who's Harry Crumb, playing second billing to John Candy, and pairing again with his Amadeus director Milos Forman for a film called Valmont. It's an 18th century period piece where his character desires to marry a 15-year-old girl. Yep, it's even creepy.
Foreshadowing. The way he gives her a side eye is crazy, though. Foreshadowing. Matt foreshadowing. That just makes it worse.
Creepier now. But we can't let him ruin our precious Valmont, right, y'all? Jeffrey Jones 2 gave the sitcom scene a shot, playing a cartoonist who could bring his works to life in The People Next Door, which only lasted 10 episodes, half of which never aired. The 1990s started off very promising for Mr. Jones, playing a submarine commander in John McTiernan's The Hunt for Red October. Then came...
Oh no, why? That's crazy. I hate the fact that this guy has been in a movie with Joe Pesci, in a movie with John Candy. What the fuck? Why my favorite people? That's crazy. Okay, it's also like, he's in that as well?
A trio of flops, all in 1992, like Out on a Limb, reteaming with Ferris Bueller himself. There was also the idiotic sci-fi family flick Mom and Dad Save the World, and Stay Tuned, another idiotic sci-fi family flick. But at least this time he got a Chewie villain role to play.
Sorry, Spike. You're canceled.
After an uncredited turn in Oliver Stone's Heaven and Earth, he balanced the rest of the decade with a mix of comedies and dramas. There was a small role in 1995's House Guest, then he would move back to his stage roots playing Thomas Putnam in The Crucible, and yeah, perfect casting. This guy just looks like he has a face that belongs, in the past. He also has a face that looks like, Meanwhile, 1997 saw him
Funny. That is funny. Yeah, okay. It's like interesting. So this guy doesn't even have that many special roles, like honestly. Like, you could have just made this guy, people forget about this guy forever. But then again, like it's not that crazy, right? There's like worlds between somebody like Joe Pesci and like this dude.
Playing a law firm partner whose big mouth gets him killed in The Devil's Advocate. He played an over-the-top racist in...
Well, he definitely will probably die in prison because they don't like child lovers there quite a lot. They don't like him there.
The Pest, and he had a part in the indie flick Flypaper. He also appeared in Stuart Little, playing Uncle Crenshaw, and he...
That is painful to know that he is there. That's really painful. I love Stuart Little.
He was in a really scary, brutal horror flick called Ravenous, as a colonel who turns into a cannibal. And yeah, this makes it really creepy, but it's kind of a good creepy because this movie's supposed to be creepy and horrific. So thanks, Mr. Jones. He would spend a sizable portion of the 80s and 90s doing spots on shows like Amazing Stories, Tales from the Crypt, The Outer Limits, as well as lending his voice, one of his strong suits, to shows like Duckman and Eek the Cat.
Never heard of these. I've never heard of these. Interesting. But it all doesn't matter. That man is disgusting.
As for...
Did he just get a lobotomy? Or just got lobotomized by a mummy, right? Crazy.
For movies, before he got in trouble, there was a role as a senator in Company Men, a hotel manager in Heartbreakers, the primary antagonist in Dr. Dolittle 2, and even the vice president of the United
Right, he's also in Dr. Dolittle 2. Yikes.
States of America in How High. In the early 2000s, Pee Wee Herman himself, Mr. Paul Rubens, was under a year-long investigation for lewd material. While no evidence was found and no charges brought, this Pee Wee search that found nothing would somehow point authorities in the direction of Mr. Jeffrey Jones. In the year 2002, Jeffrey Jones was arrested for possession.
But if finding nothing leads to him, how did that work? That's interesting, right? Because they found nothing. They found... Interesting. Wow.
Possession of child pornography. Even supposedly hiring a 14-year-old boy.
Well, that video is demonetized. That's over. Interesting. What did he hire him for?
To pose for explicit photographs. As such,
How do you hire... Anyways.
Jones faced a felony count of using a minor in an explicit film and a misdemeanor of possession of child porn. Jones has denied
Anyways, can we now go off the people that make cuties?
all accusations, saying, All I want is for the truth to come out, and for this matter to be resolved as quickly as possible. After pleading no contest, Jones received 5 years probation and had to register as a sex offender, also being made to undergo counseling. And a slap on the wrist, I guess. Following the sentencing, Jones stated, "This concludes a really painful chapter in my life. I am sorry that this incident was allowed to occur." Allowed to occur? The does that mean? Such an
Allowed to occur, like, was somebody, like, how does this work? How does this work? Allowed to occur, like, I mean, if no such material exists, then it can't happen. It shouldn't be allowed to occur, yeah. I mean, he isn't wrong, but, like, still. But everyone slips up once in a while. Crazy work. That's all slip up. That's something you deliberately to do. Though it may have started first with a regular corn addiction, and then slid into that territory. Who knows?
Event has never happened before, and it will never happen again.
Yeah, usually they're multiple times offenders, so that's not gonna cut it. Because I do believe that you can also get into the stuff if you consume too much corn. That's just what I believe. I think child lovers are not only born that way, they can also be made by their own degeneracy. But that's just my take.
Oh, he's just one of those one-time minor attracted persons. But troubles would haunt him still, as in 2004, he failed to update his sex offender status.
Do not mention the maps. The maps should be burned.
In Florida, and in 2010 failed to do the same in California, receiving 250 hours of community service as punishment, and another slap on the wrist. Slap, slap. And that was pretty much the end of Jeffrey Jones' career. Pretty much. Prior to this, Jeffrey Jones had solidified himself as a familiar face among movies and television. He wasn't quite a famous character actor, but he was undoubtedly a character, and a certified, hey, it's that guy kind of guy. Despite his troubles, he still landed a vital role on a key show in the golden age of television. This convicted sex offender played a newspaper editor on HBO's Deadwood, which allowed him to tag along to a SAG nomination.
I guess it's a good thing he played villains in most movies. Yeah, that is the only probably good part about this. But regardless, he is weird as hell.
For the whole cast, and he was even invited back for the 2019 movie. Outside of that, Jeffrey Jones has appeared in junk like Who's Your Caddy, his first quote-unquote major movie since his arrest. And for some reason, he was in the 2014 disaster flick 10.0 Earthquake, which failed to shake up audiences and critics alike. And that's just the sort of fare we would expect from Jeffrey Jones now, if he gets a role at all.
Is this just not like a gay romance here or something?
Once a familiar face and a recurring part of the Tim Burton repertoire, he fell from his minor grace with a humiliating and disgusting thud. To most of us, he'll always be Ed Rooney and Charles Dietz, Emperor Joseph II. And while his disgraceful behavior doesn't take away from any of those wonderful movies, these wonderful works of cinematic art, they're just too good to have one pervert ruin them. You know, movies like Howard the...
True and real. True and real. To be fair, I would have not found this out at all if I wasn't told that he did this.
Duck. And yeah, how appropriate that his inappropriate acts would bury his career, as Tim Burton buries his body, and his Beetlejuice family closes the casket on the Jeffrey Jones legacy. So you know what? It's actually okay to give a fuck about what the fuck happened to Jeffrey Jones because well, it's fucked up.
Anyways, interesting. Taylor James Johnson is narrator, writer, and editor. Funny. Anyways, that's very interesting. Yeah, I would have not found this out. See, Poke Hollywood cares. They don't let this man have a career. Yeah, they just care if it's like a really small actor. If it's like a bigger actor, they find a million excuses. Let's be real. Let's be real. This guy is not that relevant. Let's be honest here. But yeah, interesting. Well, it may have removed some like it may have done some damage to the reputation to some movies and how I see them now. But it is what it is. I'll probably forget about this after stream, so it's not that big of a deal. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.